Welcome to the AppInTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast.
For so many mobile app developers, it's an all-or-nothing battle out there in the App Store.
This AppInTop podcast is your mobile app marketing advantage.
Let's get that new app of yours moving to the top.
This is the AppInTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast.
And now your host, Michael Bauer.
Welcome. This podcast is produced by AppInTop.com. You can find our daily blog at blog.appintop.com. And also make sure you track us down on Facebook, facebook.com/AppInTop. And since we tweet, and we presume you do as well, reach out to us via Twitter at AppInTop_com. That's AppInTop_com. Soft launch. Don't be fooled by the peaceful-sounding name. A soft launch is nothing short of testing the app in combat conditions in order to identify its weak points and make corrections in time for the general release. As Tactical Heroes is being soft-launched in Spain, Erepublik Labs CEO Alexis Bonte joins us fresh from the battlefield. Hopefully not too much ringing in the ears, to talk to us about a soft launch and the challenges an online game developer faces when switching to a mobile platform. Alexis, thank you for taking the time to join us today and stepping away from the battlefield. We appreciate it.
Thank you for giving me a break, Michael. It's nice to step away for a second.
It's good to get away from the war occasionally. Alexis, So far, can you pinpoint something that you would say has been the most challenging part of the Tactical Heroes soft launch for you?
Yeah, I think probably the toughest part of the soft launch, I'd say, is really kind of getting the KPIs to where the key performance indicators to where we wanted to go.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of things that you change and you think they're going to have a result, and it's not necessarily the thing that you hope was going to get that retention number to where you wanted to go that actually works. It's something else that you didn't expect. So that's, I guess, the whole point of the soft launch.
Yeah, I was going to say that's where you want that stuff to happen, not after your actual launch.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
It's definitely better before that.
Now, talk with me about how you decide on soft launch locations. You're launching in Spain, which is where your company is based. Supercell tested its Boom Beach in Canada. What other countries are you testing, and how do you go about choosing those countries?
Yeah, so I think the big advantage that I think the guys listening to this are going to have with us is this is the first time we ever did the mobile soft launch. So we did a lot of mistakes. So I'm happy to share those.
Nice.
So we actually didn't start with Spain. We started with New Zealand because, we heard that New Zealand was a good place to soft launch and all sort of stuff. The only problem is that when we put the game available in New Zealand, we couldn't get anybody to play it because there's just not enough players.
Gotcha.
And we tried, even doing a bit of advertising on Chartboost, and we got very little volume. So New Zealand wasn't a good market for us, and then we learned from other, developers that New Zealand isn't so great. So then we have another local developer that told us that Spain and Australia were good for them. And us being in Spain, that seemed to make sense. Canada, a lot of people do it, but then it's very expensive to acquire users in Canada.
Okay.
So we went for Spain, and we also went for Australia. Another reason we went for Spain is being based here in Spain, and Apple has an office in Spain. We were able to talk with Apple and get a bit of help from them, so that was good. And
I suppose that the news that you had initially received about New Zealand being a great place to start, and then you found it different. Again, that's great to have happen at this point in this stage to have a better understanding when it comes time for the actual hard launch of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want to know as early as possible, where the volumes are going to be. I mean, we even tested the market like Indonesia because we were told, you can get, lots of users very cheaply to, get volume and see if your metrics are correct and all that. So we tried that, and we didn't find it that easy either. So, but we're Spain and Australia, we're actually quite happy. Spain is a good market where you can get good volumes, but you get low monetization. And Australia is just quite a strong market where you get high monetization. So if you average out the two countries, then you get a good feeling for how your game is going to go.
He is Erepublik Labs CEO Alexis Bonte joining us here on the AppInTop podcast. We're now, about a month away from the full launch for here in October. What other countries besides those two are you planning on moving into the full launch come October?
Yeah, so we've been thinking we might extend. We might do one or two more countries where we soft launch because we're doing a lot of improvements to the game. This is when you want to be doing the improvements. So we probably might open up a South American country. But then we don't want to do too many countries either because we don't want to blow the global launch.
Okay.
And say the global launch is very soon, and so we might do one or maximum 2 more countries.
Okay, so you might dabble a little bit more just to fine-tune everything before you have the big launch.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. How many users do you need to acquire, test monetization, and game mechanics?
So if you're looking at purely game mechanics, to be honest, you probably don't need right away the soft launch. So you can do user testing. We did a lot of user testing with a lot of people coming in the office and playing the game and all that. So that's quite helpful.
Okay.
Then I think if you want to see game mechanics in a live environment, ideally you want at least about 400 to 1,000 users. And you want to see, how the user sessions look and all this sort of stuff. I think that's the minimum. But then when you're getting into retention, key performance indicators and things like that, then you want to have different cohorts. I mean, you'll be surprised. I mean, one day you could have a certain number, and then the next day you have half the numbers.
And then I imagine it's got to be sort of fluid with what you're doing, where things can change literally from day to day. What do you expect, like at the end of the soft launch with Tactical Heroes? And I'm sure that this has changed, like you said, you're thinking about going into South America. What do you expect those numbers to be by the time you guys are ready to actually do the hard launch of Tactical Heroes?
Yeah. I mean, let me give you an example. When we started off, I mean, the first thing you look at is how many people complete your onboarding, right? At the beginning of the game. And when we started out, we were at 40%, which is pretty bad. And that was quite scary. So thanks to the soft launch, we made some fine tunes, all sort of stuff, and we got it to above 60%, which is more acceptable.
Yeah.
We'd like to get that to 70% ideally by the time we do the global launch. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing you look at is obviously day one retention. So how many people come back on the next day? And we started off quite poorly as well, around 20%. We're now at about 35%. And we'd like to get that number to 40% or a bit more. So we're quite close there. And then you look at midterm retention, which is your day 7 retention, your day 14 retention. And there, we're at 6-7%, and that's where we're hurting. That's where we're not ready for the global launch because we ideally would like to get that to 15%.
Okay.
We know what's missing. We've learned what's missing. For example, one of the big things we learned from the soft launch has nothing to do with actually the game loop or if the game is good or bad. Is one simple thing: is loading times.
Oh.
Yeah, we were getting great reviews. Everybody was happy. It was like, oh, the game is great. I really like it, but I'm not playing because it takes too much time to load.
Interesting.
And so we've got a new release that just came out today, where we've basically reduced the loading times throughout by 30%.
Wow, that sounds like it'll drive 30%. Some numbers up. Yes.
That's what we'll see. I don't know yet. I can tell you in a week's time.
So along those lines, that sounds like that's when you said that the numbers were that low. That's one of the bitter disappointments that you have to overcome. And again, then one of the big things that is a plus with the soft launch. If you'd give me a couple of what you would consider to be the pleasant surprises, and then again, maybe a couple of these bitter disappointments that you are correcting at this point or attempting to correct so far with Tactical Heroes.
Yeah, I think the disappointment, the biggest disappointment is when we saw that, at the beginning only 40% were completing the onboarding. That was really scary. So, but I'd say that the really high points is once people got through this and the people that, would play the game for 7 days or more, we were very surprised by the monetization of the game. The game has really strong monetization at this stage, and it's something we had really not focused on because in the soft launch, you want to focus first on retention. Mm-hmm. And so that gives a lot of hope that, when we get everything around retention correct, then, monetization will be much easier. So that was one of the really good surprises, that monetization is in the game from the beginning. The second really good surprise is, we got people starting posting videos on YouTube, contacting the team, all this sort of stuff. And that, that's great. When you get that when you start getting fans right from the soft launch, that's really what you want.
Yeah,
so we don't have many, but we have a few, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I guess if you take it in what you feel the percentages are going to be from the overall numbers that you have now and your early users and so forth to what you expect that to be going forward, the fact that it's sort of socially taking off has got to be a big surprise and plus for you right now.
Yeah, no, we're really happy with that.
That's fantastic. How do you work with your early users to collect and process their feedback about the game? Is it all done? Like you said, it's coming in little bits as far as the YouTube goes and people socially sharing it. How do you usually work with those early users, and how do you get reviews and ratings from them?
Yeah, so one of the mistakes that we did early on with the soft launch is, we basically just hit, we had somewhere in the settings, it was really hidden, contact us and give us feedback.
Okay.
And so the place that people chose to give us feedback was obviously the reviews, and usually they were complaining about something. So that's not a great idea. So it was quite funny because the game has mostly 5 and 4-star reviews, and then you get the guy, I really like the game, it's really cool, but I'm giving you a 1-star review because this and this is not great. So we thought it might be a better idea if we just put a big feedback button in their face in the UI, so at least they email us directly.
Right.
So that's something we learned and we've done just now.
Yeah, I think the just don't post it in the reviews button would be fantastic. What kind of key metrics are you tracking to evaluate how the soft launch is performing? What do you guys look? And is it a daily type of thing for you? Or how often are you looking at those numbers?
Every day.
Every day.
Every morning, the whole team gets an email. And the key metrics are the retention metrics that I mentioned. So, onboarding day 1, day 2, day 3. And then we look at monetization, and then we look at the virality of the game. It's not that many metrics. At the end of the day, I think you can build a pretty good model of how your game is going to do with, 3 or 4 retention metrics, 1 monetization metric, and 1 viral metric. So 6 metrics, and if your game is going to be a dud or if it's going to be good.
And simply day by day, you don't want to micromanage and be doing it a couple of times a day to look at those numbers and see what's happening. Day by day seems fine. Yeah,
day by day is fine. Also, the important thing, some days we just don't have a lot of volume.
Sure.
So you just ignore those metrics because if you've got less than 100 new players in one particular day or 60 new players, the metrics just go a little crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So you want ideally 200, 300, 400 new players, and then you get some really valid metrics. So that's what we do.
Gotcha. Alexis, let's take a quick break here. When we return, we know that today's public has become extremely picky about its apps. What Alexis Bonte, the CEO of Erepublik Labs, went into their soft launch of Tactical Heroes looking to accomplish, and perhaps more importantly, once in there, looking to avoid. That's seconds away here on the AppInTop podcast.
This podcast is produced with support from AppInTop, an automated mobile app marketing platform in App Store and Google Play.
This is the AppInTop mobile app marketing podcast. I'm Mike Bauer. Alexis Bonte of Erepublik Labs joins us to discuss the soft launch of its new game Tactical Heroes, built for the mobile platforms. Alexis, knowing that the price of a mistake is extremely high and 3 times higher after the release, what is it that you guys studied and eventually pinpointed as trends that you wanted to avoid when taking Tactical Heroes to the mobile platform?
So we wanted to be a bit careful about... So we came from the experience of having a successful game, but it was a browser game called Erepublik.com.
Mm-hmm.
Where we made sure that we had the pretty clear and that identified niche that we were addressing the game to. And that's kind of the thing that we're doing also with Tactical Heroes. So the thing that we really wanted to avoid was just do another game that was, the same as all the other games. So we wanted to really make sure that the game was very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
So that really is the key thing that we looked at, something that was different, that we liked, and that had an addressable market.
Gotcha. So you didn't want to fall into the lull or the same old, if you will, when it came to looking for games on behalf of users.
Yeah, because that's, as you know, the App Store is hyper competitive right now.
Oh boy.
This is our first game on the App Store. We're not going to do a Clash of Clones better than some of the big companies out there, or some sort of match 3 better than king. So there was no point in us doing that sort of game. And to be honest, the hype is around those games, and some companies do copycats of that and they do well. But we thought that with our knowledge, that of the platform, that wouldn't work very well.
Gotcha. Now, when you guys were going into the concept of the mobile game, what were some examples that you looked at, or maybe some that you can share with us, that showed the mediocre results during the soft launch, but after tweaking, like you've already highlighted here, after tweaking became amazingly successful for the general release?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing is we actually did other games that didn't do well in soft launch. So
you had other learning experiences, if you will.
Yeah. We've killed 2 games before this one.
Okay.
So this is why we're so happy that we're getting to launch this one.
Third time's a charm, they say, right?
Third time's a charm, exactly. So obviously we try to avoid the mistakes that we did with those games. So I mean, one of them was too niche. One of them was we can say it was in a very crowded market, which is the football game market, and just was just one more. So that's the sort of stuff that we try to avoid. Another one that we saw that the game loop was just a bit too long, and we thought that would work, but it didn't work. So that's some of the mistakes that we try to avoid. Was yes, it's okay to do a game that's a bit different, that's a bit original, but I think on the mobile and iPad platform, people want a pretty quick, game loop, and you have to be careful with that sort of thing.
Yeah, in general, I think when you're talking about phones and mobile pads of any different kind, it's got to be quick. It's got to be quick. And like you said earlier, when you guys were talking about the loading times and what you guys had found out, the loading time taking time for Tactical Heroes, there's got to be more of an immediacy there, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the loading times plus how long the loop is really... It's a lot more, let's say it's a lot more important than we thought. I mean, Tactical Heroes, we thought we could get away with having slightly larger loading times and longer game loop as well, just because of the nature of the game, because the game is more hardcore and all that sort of stuff. And what we're realizing is the audience in those sort of platforms are just educated to having very, very quick experiences. They just don't have the patience to wait. And so that's definitely a mistake to avoid. And to be honest, even with Tactical Heroes, if we had to redo it all over again, we'd probably do an even shorter game loop than the one we have right now.
Here's Alexis Bonte of Erepublik Labs. Now, I don't want to bring up bad memories for you, but earlier you were talking about how you've killed 2 games before you got to Tactical Heroes here. With those games, when you have results that are significantly below the expectations, did you scrap the game immediately? How much work do you put in to try to see if you can go back to the drawing board, fix things up? Was there a time frame that you give yourself? How quickly before you kill those games while you're trying to work on it?
Yeah, it's a super difficult one. So, I mean, Supercell, when you look at what they say and when I look at, they make it look really easy. They say, hey, whenever we kill a game, we'd open up the champagne and we party because, right. I don't know. Maybe we're not built the same way, but we definitely don't open the champagne when we kill the game. Maybe we should. Maybe that's the secret of their success.
Maybe it makes the killing the game a tad bit easier.
Exactly. Maybe we should do that. No, it's super difficult. I think the problem is when the game. I think when the game is really bad, it's pretty easy to kill.
Okay.
I think the really difficult part is when a lot of the things in the game are working, and there's 1 or 2 things that are not working, and you keep thinking that you can fix them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it becomes really, really difficult. And I think then it just becomes, depending what kind of company you are, it becomes either if I continue working on this game and don't fix it, then I'm going to run out of money, so I probably should change.
Right.
Or it becomes an opportunity cost. Is my team, are these 15 people working on this game better off spending the next 3 months trying to fix it, or should I start again? And but it's really, really hard. I think that probably we never kill a game soon enough. Okay.
So you're saying everything could be killed a little sooner?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think it'd be very important. I think in the way we develop games, my recommendation would be to get to soft launch as soon as possible. Like, our game is quite Tactical Heroes is a big game, so it took us almost over a year to get to soft launch.
Mm-hmm.
Our next game, I like us to get to soft launch much faster.
Gotcha. Before you guys put the last stake in the heart of the game, how much, for a developer, just thinking from a developer standpoint right now, how much time do you put in there? You said kill the game a little bit quicker, possibly. How many times do you go back to the drawing board? Is there, does it come down to what kind of reviews and feedback you're getting from people? Like you said, if things aren't working, if you're looking at a time frame, do you say that there's a specific window that you're looking at, and then at the end of that, say 60 days, that's when you put the stake in the heart of the game?
Yeah, so with the games that we killed, so one of them was called Tifosi, it was the football game.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually in soft launch, and after a month, we saw there was a big problem with the game. There was just something not working in the core loop. So we gave ourselves 30 days to, make a change to it and then test it. And then if it wouldn't work, we would kill it. So basically 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we did. And it didn't work, and we killed it.
And you think you might have waited a little long. You probably could have done it, another 30 days earlier?
I think that, to be honest, we could have found out that the right thing to do would have been to find out the problem in the core loop sooner.
Gotcha. All right. If I do a soft launch and I encounter monetization or retention problems, how rigid are the dates of general release? I mean, there's got to be a cutoff and a kill date, right? How easy or harmful is it to postpone or make that date flexible for the launch in order to fix those problems?
Yeah, so we've been in soft launch for about, let me think, close to 4 months. That's a long soft launch, but it's not the longest. I know a company with a pretty big game just came out. They were in soft launch for over a year.
Wow.
So it really depends on, I think, on two things. One is how much do you believe you can get your game to being better?
Mm-hmm.
And actually three things. So that's the first one. The second one is how much money do you have? So how much time can you afford to be in soft launch?
Right.
And the third thing is timing. Because let's say that your game, if you launch it this October, might be great. Maybe in 6 months' time, it won't be so great because 2 games like it have just come out or whatever. So I think it's really a mixture of those three things. Is how much you believe in your game, how much cash do you have, and timing. Because you can always improve the game. I mean, we could, if we don't launch the Tactical Heroes in October, we launch it in January, we'll have a much better game. But we'll have spent a lot more money. And I'm not 100% sure that the improvements that we will make to the game are not improvements that we can make after we've done the global launch.
How long should a test in regards to the app be before the general release? So if you're saying now you're thinking about this is taking, as far as Tactical Heroes goes, it's a little longer than you'd like to have for the soft launch. What do you think is a solid time frame, especially based upon the experience you've had thus far?
So I think it depends. If all you're doing is porting a game from another platform, so let's say you've got a successful Facebook game, which is an example of an artist studio we know quite well, and you're porting it to iOS. Okay, so you know your game, you know the game KPIs, you know the metrics, you've got all of it from Facebook, you know your game loop works. All you want to know is if you adapted it correctly to iPhone or Android. I think in that case, you can totally get away. You should target a month soft launch maximum, ideally. Okay. If you've got a completely new game that's not a copy of another game, that's a new concept and all that, like what we've got with Tactical Heroes, then I think 3 months sounds good.
Okay, so somewhere between 1 to 3 months, depending on the type of game you're putting out.
Yeah, I think if you start going into the 6 months, a year soft launch periods, it means something is fundamentally wrong with the game, and you really need to fix it. And I'd start worrying. And
is that something that will then show to the development world that, hey, they're going a little bit longer in their soft launch than they expected? There could be some serious problems with this game. Yeah,
definitely.
You mentioned earlier, time of year can be a big part of what might add to sort of the success. Like if it launches in October, it could be successful, but if you wait another 6 months, it could be a wash, especially depending if someone else releases a game at that time. Does the same thing happen with world events? Like take Top 11 and Football World Cup. Is it a possibility that events like that could make a big difference in the success? And what should a developer keep in mind when that comes up?
Well, totally, because obviously if it's the Football World Cup and you're launching a pretty cool football game, you've got a much better chance of getting featured.
Mm-hmm. Does in the case of something like Tactical Heroes, that there's more? I feel like there's more legs, there's more life to something like that. So it's not required here, but depending on your game, timing within what's going on in the rest of the world could be a big issue.
Yeah, I agree. With Tactical Heroes, it's not the case. But if you're doing a football game, you better launch it during the Football World Cup. If you're launching a game with, I don't know, Father Christmas, and you launch it in February, then it's not great.
That's good. Yeah, if you wait till after the Olympics to launch your Olympics game, that's probably not a good idea.
So I think games that are led by events, you definitely should have them in soft launch a few months before the actual event, ideally.
Gotcha. We'll take a quick break here. When we return, we'll talk marketing tactics and ads that help and may hurt the launch of a game with Alexis Bonte, the CEO of Erepublik Labs, in seconds here on the AppInTop podcast.
This podcast is produced with support from AppInTop, an automated mobile app marketing platform in App Store and Google Play.
This indeed is the AppInTop mobile app marketing podcast. I'm Michael Bauer, your host. We would love to hear from you. Get some thoughts, some insights, some questions. Please send them to us via Facebook at facebook.com/AppInTop, or tweet us your questions, comments, and thoughts at AppInTop_com. AppInTop_com. The most known title of Erepublik Labs is free-to-play social MMOG Erepublik. Launched in 2008, Erepublik has 5 million. That's right, 5 million registered users. This year, the company is launching its new game, Tactical Heroes, this time built for the mobile platforms. Alexis Bonte joins us fresh from the battlefield to talk about the soft launch and marketing on a mobile platform. Alexis, what marketing tactics worked well for you so far? And maybe as a generality that you can give us in regards to Spain, what works generally well in Spain?
So in terms of the soft launch, obviously we had to do some marketing. It was interesting for us, and again, because we really had to learn everything about marketing on mobile, because the marketing we did until now was for a browser game, for Erepublik.com.
Would you say completely different?
Yes.
Okay.
It is completely different. So the things that traditionally we were told worked really well were Facebook, because you can really target very well. And we had mixed results with Facebook, to be honest. We had some very good results, sometimes some not so good results in our times. What we found Facebook really useful for was to basically test different ads.
Okay.
Because Facebook is a good system that allows you to put 7 different ads or even more, and then basically test them out. So that was very useful. We actually even used Facebook to test our app icon, just to see which icon would work best on the iPad. So you can use Facebook in a lot of interesting ways for very little money when you're soft launching. In terms of things that worked well for us in Spain was Chart Boost, but then we thought that would work well for us also in other countries like Australia and New Zealand, and there was no volume there. So what we realized is you really need to make your homework, and you need to find out what advertising platforms and formats work depending on the country you're targeting, and they're not the same ones.
Any thoughts on incent stalls in regards to this so far?
Yeah, what we saw with incentivized installs is they're great to get you up in the charts. They're absolutely crap for everything else.
Okay.
So they just are, there's like a whole week of KPIs that, that really look bad. That like investors were like, what happened?
Yes.
And we're like, well, that's where, but look, we're number 10 in the charts in Spain.
Right.
So I think incentivized installs if what you want is get up in the charts to get noticed, so that you get, I don't know, organic traffic from users, or you get noticed by investors or whatever, or by the press or something like that, then they have their use. If you're looking for users that are going to play your game, use your game, and give you, and generate revenue for you, they don't work.
Okay. With what appears to be an adaptation of possibly a South American country and testing here before your general launch, what are some of the things that you've recognized in regards to the ads that you place? In regards to mobile ads, how do you target the users? And do you, at this stage, recommend narrowing the target? Or do you still kind of have a pretty vast and wide open target that you're shooting for?
I think the more you narrow the target, the better quality you're going to get, but also the more expensive it's going to get.
Sure.
So it really, and also the hard is going to be to get volume. So what we've seen is actually you do want to target a little bit, but you don't need to target as much as we did at the beginning. Because at the beginning we would target, it's got to be people who like exactly the type of game that we're doing. It's got to be people that are from this age to this age and all sorts of stuff. And we're getting the volumes and we're getting really high CPIs. So one thing that we saw worked quite well was targeting by the type of device that they have.
Okay.
Because you kind of prefer people who have maybe an iPad Air or an iPhone 5 rather than people that have an iPhone 4. Just because A, your game performs better, and B, they're more likely to be to be able to afford spending money in your game if they have a higher end device. So we find that that's a good targeting. And then another thing that we found was quite useful is something that Facebook has, which is lookalike audiences.
Okay.
So because we have the advantage of having 5 million people with played.erepublik.com, we know what a good player looks like, right? We know what are the players that spend or the players that are very active in the game and all that. So we can take that audience. And since our Tactical Heroes is a game that addresses a similar audience, then we load those profiles to Facebook, and then we target using that. So that's quite useful as well.
Gotcha. Now, I know it can be a love-hate relationship, especially during the soft launch when it comes to working with the press. Your thoughts at this point, and should you attract the attention of bloggers and journalists at this point? What's been your experience in regards to the soft launch and dealing with the press and getting as much press as you can?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting experience for us. So we're in a bit of the difficult spot, because we're not an indie. So we don't have the indie appeal of, look at those 5, 4, 3 guys are doing that cool little game.
Right.
And we're not Supercell or King. We're a 50 people studio. This is our first game on mobile, so we can't really show. Our last game, was released in 2008, was a success, but it's an old game. Mm-hmm. So actually, the first thing we're trying to do is, hey, we exist. We're here. Hello, talk to us.
Look at us. We got something new over here.
Exactly, and it's pretty cool, and it even got featured by Apple during the soft launch, and so I think there's so many stuff coming out on mobile and all that what we realize is it's very hard to get the attention of the press when you're just launching another game on the iPad or iPhone. It's extremely difficult, but we've had some contact with the press. We were quite lucky. We got a really early review when we were not ready at all, and we got an 8 out of 10, so that was nice.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. So really right now, our problem is not really so much about, so should you attract the attention of journalists at this point? I think in our case, we really have nothing to lose. Mm-hmm. It's so hard to get people to get noticed, to get people to find your game, play your game right now when there's thousands of new games coming out in the App Store every week.
Right.
But I'd say yes, definitely. If you've got an in, if you've got a good story, if you've got a way to do it, you should do it, and you should try and get the press to talk about your game, because that's going to help you in a lot of things. It might not give you a lot of players, but it's going to help you get noticed by by Apple, get noticed by maybe YouTubers and all that sort of stuff. And it's very hard to get those people to talk about you.
And I wonder, Alexis, along those lines, do you guys go first to the contacts you had from the game you released in 2008 and got positive reviews from there? Or do you just sort of hit up some of the more popular sites to let them know that you've got this and maybe deal with new journalists or new people that might be able to give you the most volume of exposure?
Well, we did a mix of both things. To be honest, a lot of the people that were working in the press in 2008
have moved on.
Working in the press anymore.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So I think there were 3 left.
You could literally walk to each of them and show them the game.
Exactly. They got a private tour.
So when you're reaching out to these new people that maybe you don't have, a great deal of background with, is there a bit of concern knowing that you got 8 out of 10, which is fantastic, but you could get a bad review from somebody and then that can throw off the concept as well?
To be honest, I don't think that should be a concern.
Okay.
I think the only people that get affected by a bad review is going to be your team.
That makes sense.
Because at the end of the day, the reviews that really count are the reviews that the players leave in the App Store. That's what you look at when you're downloading a game. So I'd rather have some attention and maybe an average or a bad review than no attention at all, to be honest.
Gotcha. I'm going to ask you a big question here to wrap things up, Alexis. Obviously, Erepublik has been very successful in social online gaming, created way before social and Facebook games became big. Now you're working on the mobile game. Share with us the main marketing and monetization challenges that you faced by moving to and from between the online and mobile platform, and what you're seeing right now as possibly the biggest focus therein.
Yeah, so for us, it was really interesting because obviously we completely bypassed the whole Facebook boat. We didn't release the game on Facebook. So we've jumped straight from browser to mobile. And that's a lot of learning for us. I think the main challenge that we're seeing right now in terms of marketing, I thought it was going to be, to get noticed by Apple, get noticed by all those people, build those relationships and all that. Mm-hmm. And actually it isn't because, it's just a question of work and, showing them you're serious and, and being perseverant and all that. I think the main challenge is, I think players have become a lot more demanding. I think the quality of the games is much better than what we had when we had browser game. I think when we did Erepublik, the first version of Erepublik, the first browser game, we got away with murder in terms of user interface, user experience, and all that. Now, if your game isn't tip top, it just doesn't work. And I think it's become a harm's race. And you really need. So I think that's the marketing challenge. Is not really so much in terms of the marketing. It is what we're seeing. Is really, really about the quality. The quality of your game being able to shine right from the beginning.
And is that all encompassing? So that means everything, like you had mentioned earlier, from load times to the graphics to the all of that has to be top notch when you're ready to go with this.
I think when it was a console game, you had half an hour to convince people that your game was good, but you get their money anyway. When it was a browser game, maybe you had 10 minutes. When it was a Facebook game, you had 5 minutes. Now you got a minute.
You literally have 60 seconds to win these people over in order to get them to be longer term users.
60 to 90 seconds.
Wow.
I think if for the first 60 seconds all your game is doing is loading, you're in trouble.
Wow, I feel like a very similar situation when I'm trying to reprimand my daughter. If I don't get those first 60 to 90 seconds in, forget it. It's a lost lesson.
It's the ADD generation.
It completely is the ADD generation. Alexis, for the past 40 minutes, you've brought developers into the trenches of the soft launch with you. You've faced the pitfalls and planted your flag and the successes with us by your side. Moreover, you made developers understand the necessity, clearly, and understanding of how a soft launch can be a positive battle to fight. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for, in this scenario, I'm tossing out your service. You're officially free to go home, soldier. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. And to all of you listening, thank you very much for listening. This has been the AppInTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast. Make sure you visit our daily blog, blog.appintop.com, where you can find all this great information and much, much more every single day. Until next time, I'm Mike Bauer. See ya.
The AppInTop Mobile App Marketing Podcast is produced by
AppInTop.com.